In 2022, my family and I took a short weekend vacation in Utah. It was a small mountain lodge about 4 hours from our home. My wife found it online, one of those quiet places with no TV, no cell signal, just peace. We thought it'd be good for our son too. He's 9. Way too hooked on screens. The trip itself was uneventful. Some hiking, campfire nights, and way too much hot chocolate. But it was the drive back that I'll never forget. We were supposed to leave Sunday morning, but we decided to hang around a bit longer, have an early dinner, and hit the road around 6 p.m. The lodge owner, an older guy named Frank, told me about a shortcut that would save us 40 minutes. He said, "It's a forest road, paved most of the way. Locals use it all the time. Just watch for deer." Sounded fine. I punched it into GPS. Sure enough, it rerouted us off the main highway. About 20 minutes in, we were deep in the forest. The road was narrow, with no lights, no houses. My wife and son were asleep. It was just me, the trees, and the engine. Then I passed an old cemetery. I almost didn't see it, just a handful of worn headstones behind a rusted fence, hidden in the trees. There was a white wooden cross leaning against the gate, not planted, just propped there, like someone left it recently. It gave me this weird feeling I can't really explain, just wrong. I kept driving. Maybe 5 minutes later, I glanced at my rearview mirror, and I swear to God, I saw someone sitting in the very back seat. Just a dark shape, like a person hunched forward, arms on knees, not moving. I slammed the brakes so hard my wife jerked awake. She asked what was wrong. I didn't answer right away. I turned around. There was nothing there. Our son was still asleep in the back. The trunk area was empty. I even got out and opened the hatch just to be sure. Nothing. I tried to play it cool and said I thought I saw a deer, but I checked that mirror every 30 seconds the rest of the way. Nothing ever showed up again. We made it home just before midnight. I never told my wife what I saw, but the next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I didn't look anything up. I didn't want to. All I know is, I've never felt something like that before. Not fear exactly, more like the sense that someone was there, just outside of sight. And ever since that night, I can't look in the rearview mirror the same way.
In 2015, I took a solo trip through Oregon as part of a photography project I was doing. I wanted shots of foggy woods, decaying cabins, those eerie places you see in abandoned forums. I stayed in a bunch of Airbnbs along the way. Nothing fancy, just budget cabins and older rental homes. One of them was in a place called Troutdale, right on the edge of Mount Hood National Forest. It was the last 2 nights of my trip, and I still can't explain what happened there. The cabin was basic, small kitchen, old wood paneling, 1 bedroom. It sat just off a narrow road that cut through miles of forest. You could barely see the next house through the trees. The host left a note and keys in a lockbox. No Wi-Fi, barely any phone signal, just like I wanted. Everything seemed normal, except for one thing. The bedroom window faced the forest, and it had no curtains, just glass, looking into total blackness at night. That first evening, I unpacked, made dinner, and went outside to shoot a few twilight photos. The forest had that damp, quiet feel, peaceful, but a little too still. When I came back in, it was already dark. I turned on the lights, made tea, and sat in bed reviewing my photos. That's when I realized something. In one of the shots I took from the backyard, a wide angle of the cabin, someone was in the window, looking out from the bedroom. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, or maybe my own reflection caught in the glass. But the figure didn't match me. It was taller, wider, almost like a man in a dark coat. I ran outside to double check. No footprints, no cars, nothing, but the image was clear. Somebody had been standing at the bedroom window while I was outside. I checked the cabin top to bottom, locked every door, even propped a chair against the front knob like a horror cliche. Then I tried to sleep.
At around 1 a.m., I heard footsteps on the gravel path behind the cabin. Not fast, just slow, deliberate crunching. I stayed still, held my breath. They stopped right outside the bedroom window. I didn't dare turn my head. Then knocking, just 2 taps on the glass. Not loud, soft, like the person didn't want to wake me, like they just wanted to check. I stayed frozen for what felt like an hour. Eventually, the footsteps walked off. Slowly, I never looked out the window. In the morning, I packed. I wanted out. That evening, it rained hard. I tried to distract myself with music and books, but I couldn't stop checking the window. At 2:17 a.m., the power went out. No lights, just the storm. Then, the footsteps came back. Same pace, same crunching sound. I grabbed a flashlight and stood at the far wall, away from the window, and then I heard it, breathing, not mine, outside the glass, low, steady, like someone tall was standing there, face almost pressed against it. I finally turned the flashlight toward the window. Nothing. But when the next bolt of lightning flashed, I saw him. A man, pale face, no expression, just staring, like he'd been waiting for me to finally look. But when I opened my car door, I noticed something on the windshield. Handprints, wet ones, like someone had leaned on the glass with both palms. They weren't mine, too big, and too high up. I loaded my gear, but the car wouldn't start. Dead battery. Probably my fault. I'd charged my camera overnight. Still, the timing felt wrong. There was no cell signal, and the nearest house was a 20-minute walk through woods I no longer trusted. I had one night left. Just one. I decided to stay inside. Keep the lights on. Wait it out. Nothing. But when the next bolt of lightning flashed, I saw him. A man, pale face, no expression, just staring, like he'd been waiting for me to finally look. That night, I checked into a cheap motel in Portland. I didn't sleep much. Every time a shadow moved outside or someone walked by the hallway, I flinched. The weird part is, I never found out who that man was. No break-in signs, no reports, nothing. A week later, I got my car battery checked. The mechanic told me it wasn't drained. It was disconnected. Clean, like someone had done it on purpose. I never told Airbnb. I never left a review. I just never went back. And to this day, I still sleep with curtains closed. In the summer of 2013, I took a short vacation to clear my head. I was living in Columbus, Ohio back then, and needed to get away from the city noise for a few days. So I booked a small rental cabin in a place called Millfield, a tiny village with maybe 5 or 6 houses tucked away in southeast Ohio. It was quiet, too quiet, honestly, but that's what I was looking for. I stayed there for 3 days, but something happened on the second day, and I still don't know how to explain it. That evening, I decided to go for a walk through the village. Just before sunset, the air smelled like old wood and damp grass. The whole place looked like it had been frozen in time. Cracked fences, rusted mailboxes, and houses that hadn't seen fresh paint in decades. I passed all 5 houses, not a single person outside. No dogs barking. No sound at all, actually. Just the wind. I don't know what pulled me to keep walking deeper into the village. Maybe curiosity, maybe boredom, but I kept going until it started to rain. I didn't bring an umbrella, not even a jacket, so I ran, looking for any kind of cover. The closest place was one of those old houses I passed, a 2-story thing with a sagging roof and boarded windows. I ran up onto the porch and stood under the overhang, trying to avoid getting soaked. I figured I'd wait a few minutes for the storm to pass, but that's when I heard it. A baby, crying, softly, from inside the house. At first I thought I imagined it, but then it came again, slow, rhythmic sobbing, like a newborn. I leaned closer to the front door. It was slightly open, just a crack, the kind of open that makes you feel like someone meant for you to come in. I called out, "Hello? Is someone in there?" No response, no lights. The crying just kept going, and it was getting louder. I don't know what made me step inside. Maybe instinct, maybe concern, maybe stupidity, but I pushed the door open and called again. "Hello?" I heard a baby crying. The house was completely empty. No furniture, no smell of people, just dust, wooden floors, and the sound of dripping rain outside. But the crying was still there, now echoing from upstairs. Something felt wrong, not just creepy, wrong, like stepping into a place you weren't supposed to be. Still, I went up the staircase. Slowly, each step groaned under my feet. At the top, I could hear the crying behind a door at the end of the hallway. I reached for the handle and opened it. It was pitch black. I clicked on my phone flashlight and froze. There was a woman lying on the bed, still, pale, dressed in white, and underneath her, a pool of blood, soaked into the mattress and dripping onto the wooden floor. But there was no baby. The crying had stopped the moment I stepped into the room. And then, the woman's eyes opened. Just for a second. I don't remember screaming. I just remember running, slamming the door behind me, stumbling down the stairs, and out into the rain. I didn't stop until I made it back to the small lodge I was staying at. It was owned by an older couple who lived there, a sweet man named Arthur. I was shaking, drenched, trying to explain what I saw. The baby crying, the empty house, the woman on the bed. Arthur just listened, and when I finished, he calmly poured me a glass of water and said, "You're not the first one to see her." He told me the story. 7 years ago, a woman was murdered in that house by her husband. He stabbed her in her sleep. No one knows why. The police found her body, but her baby was missing. Never found, just gone. Since then, people have reported hearing a baby crying from that house. Some say it happens during storms. Others say it happens to people who don't belong there. But everyone agrees, the woman in the bed is still waiting for her child. I left Millfield the next morning. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. And even now, when I hear rain hitting my windows at night, I sometimes think I hear that soft crying, and I wonder, was that house showing me her death? Or was I just another witness, pulled in by something that never really left? Whatever the truth is, I'll never go back.